Welcome into the Daily Dish. Jeremy Werner, Joey Wagner, and we have some NBA draft / Big Ten to talk about here, Joey, as 12 Big Ten players have been invited and accepted invitations to the NBA Draft Combine, and one of those includes Kofi Cockburn. Joey, this is a good sign for Kofi because NBA execs want to see him. They vote on who they want to see in these, and whoever gets the most votes comes to the event or is invited to the event. And that means he improved his stock last year as a first-team All-American. You'd hope your stock would improve. But given that we think Kofi, might not be the best fit for the NBA, at least that's the narrative, I think it's a really good sign for Kofi Cockburn that NBA execs are really intrigued by what he could be at the next level, not just what he couldn't be.
Yeah, he didn't get this invite last year. He got to the G League Elite Camp last year. I thought he, played fairly well there. Ended up ultimately coming back to school, but to get here to the Combine, get a chance to measure out. We don't know if if at all, he's shaped his body since that final game in Pittsburgh. So it's a good chance for him to kind of either show what he's been working on, show his full skill set. I know there was a video he did where he had really kind of indicated that for Illinois to have success, he was as close to the basket as humanly possible. This might be a chance to be able to show a little bit more, show what you can do defensively, just get some more exposure, which still feels a little weird to say, Jeremy, because he was such a focal point of college basketball for 3 years. But this is maybe exposure asked to do some different things and be able to show his full array of what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he wants to shoot a couple more jumpers. Maybe he wants to be able to show some of that. I don't think that's what they're going to be looking for. I think, as you said, if he changes body a little bit, is asked to do some different things, guard the pick and roll, I think that's going to be the most important thing for him because he does have value as somebody who can be a rim runner, somebody who can own the defensive glass, somebody that could provide a defensive presence at the rim. I don't think his value is shooting mid-range jumpers. I don't think that's what the NBA is looking for. So I think he can find that kind of role, but he's got to show he can handle that defensively. Illinois played a lot of drop coverage, and even when they did switch or things like that, Kofi could handle himself at this level, but can he do it against some of the top competition? I think he's going to have to show some of that. So it's going to be cool to see him in Chicago competing. Two guys we won't see competing in Chicago, or at least aren't, haven't accepted the invite yet, are Caleb Houstan out of Michigan and Kris Murray out of Iowa. These are two big names that if they return to the Big Ten, they change the Big Ten race. I think Kris Murray, we saw towards the end of the year, has the talent of his twin brother, Keegan. Just didn't have maybe the confidence early in the season and didn't have maybe the opportunity early in the season, but he can be a star in the Big Ten. And I think we all know Caleb Houstan, a former 5-star, can take a sophomore leap, even if he wasn't the highest level as a freshman. He was still a very good freshman on a very good team. So it's going to be interesting, Joey, to see if those guys decide to skip the combine and just come back to college, or who comes back from the Big Ten, because only 2 of the top 17 guys, the all Big Ten guys last year, are guaranteed to return. That's Zach Edey as well as Hunter Dickinson. So the Big Ten is certainly wide open right now.
Yeah, you always you always wonder too about promises. If maybe it just takes a team to tell one of these guys, hey, we like you here at our pick. I don't know if that's the case with them. Kris Murray is so interesting to me, Jeremy, because you can kind of look at Keegan and say, is he on that same trajectory? There's a blueprint there. And maybe Kris Murray is, in terms of opportunity, exposure, development, a couple months, maybe different than where Keegan Murray is, but there's certainly projectability with him because of his brother, which is fascinating to me. But yeah, these two guys, the Big Ten is going to change. Like, that is, to me, when you think big picture conference story for basketball season, which I know is still like 6 months down the line here, there's so much turnover in stars. You've lost a lot of stars, really even a lot of mainstays, Jeremy, with even in Illinois, Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams. So it's kind of this new group of Big Ten stars ready to step in to the spotlight. And if those two come back, they are front and center on that list, which it's just part of college basketball. It just feels like we haven't seen this kind of turnover in the conference in a little bit.
Yeah, say if Michigan gets Houstan back or Iowa gets Kris Murray back, I mean, those guys will be in competition. I think those teams to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten, along with Purdue. I think Illinois certainly could be in that mix. Speaking of Illinois, another name of notability here is Matthew Meyer out of Baylor, who's in the transfer portal and certainly an Illini target. He will also be at the combine. Doesn't mean he will definitely stay in the draft because, Joey, he was at the combine last year, did not stick in the draft. But it is worth saying that only 15% of the guys who were invited and participated in the combine last year, stuck in the draft. So something to watch there, because if Matthew Mayer, I mean, he's got an NBA skill set. He's intriguing. Wasn't the most efficient at Baylor, kind of had that star role set up for him, and maybe didn't take as big of a leap as somebody thought. But when you talk about skill and you talk about projectability, Meyer's really intriguing, and he's already a guy who's played 4 years in college. So he seems open to returning. He's talking already about some of the schools that are interested, including North Carolina and Illinois. But he does have the chance, along with Pete Nance, who's going to be at the G League Elite Camp, of potentially staying in the draft.
Yeah, the fact that he went through the draft and came back, or went through the combine rather, and came back last year. Do you do that twice? I mean, that's some like hardcore deep dive numbers, Jeremy. But how many guys do that twice, where they go and come back? I mean, we'll see. We'll see what kind of feedback he gets. But it is notable, Jeremy, that he was invited again and appears accepted his invitation. It's just, he's already done 4 years. It's hard. We don't really know the guy outside of what we've seen on TV. We don't know where he's at. But that's a big deal for him to get invited twice. And if we're talking Illinois targets, Pete Nance has got the G League, the same thing Kofi got last year, the G League Elite Camp, which is also an interesting kind of wrinkle in here. So this, outside of Kofi, outside of the Big Ten, if you're trying to project Illinois' roster, and by the way, it seems like a lot of people are interested in doing that right now, this is more to monitor kind of in that mix there.
Yeah, plenty to monitor in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll probably get some movement in the transfer portal. June 1st is the deadline for these guys to withdraw and maintain their college eligibility. We'll cover it all at IlliniInquirer.com.